Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right, so search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. And we've had a little bit of a hiatus. Sorry for the break, but we went on holidays and then we've had family visiting, and it's just been hard to get to the cinema. But we're going back a little bit late to this movie, but it's the latest Marvel Studios, Marvel Cinematic Universe adventure, which feels like this is just a never-ending parade of them at this stage.
And usually we see them like right as they come out, and like for lots of reasons we didn't see this one, but actually there seemed no impetus to see it either. Like, is it like what, already the third one this year or something?
Well, I wish I had this at hand, but I don't. But IGN created a graphic which said which had the amount of content, I hate using that word, whatever, movies and TV shows produced by Marvel Studios, right? Phase 1 of this thing, 6 movies. Phase 2, 6 movies. Phase 3, there was 10 or 12 movies. Phase 4 is like already like whatever, like 8 movies and 7 TV shows, and we're only halfway through it.
And there's no cohesion to it, because Phase 1 was all origin stories, right?
Yeah.
So it was very clear to follow and like getting the team together and stuff. And then Phase 3 obviously ended in like Avengers Endgame, which was class. And now, by the way, Thor, the original Thor, the very first Thor movie, is one of my favourite ever Marvel movies. Like, I loved that movie. I love Chris Hemsworth. I wasn't like a huge fan of the second Thor movie, but I love Chris Hemsworth and I love Thor. So I actually am interested to see this movie for that reason.
Don't forget the third Thor movie, which, by the way,
this is the third Thor movie, isn't it?
Oh wow, I'm loving this already.
What?
No, this is the fourth Thor movie.
This is?
Yeah. The third one, which I think is the one you think is the second one, was the first one that Taika Waititi did. And actually we did on this podcast, you can scroll back there, we did Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok,
clearly
yeah.
Doesn't remember. That is not the second Thor movie, that's the third.
What's
there was
the second
another
one?
one called The Dark World, which you clearly don't remember at all.
I have no recollection of seeing that movie.
That's a testament to the quality of that movie, I think.
Wow, okay, I feel really like uninformed. Okay, well anyway, I am interested to watch this movie because I like Chris Hemsworth. Mm-hmm. I've only very briefly caught like a teaser trailer for it in the cinema and I looked away, so I don't know anything about it.
You looked away?
Well, yeah, I'd rather not watch trailers.
Oh, okay.
Though I did see online that Natalie Portman's in it, which is good because I really like her. But other than that, I'm fairly nonplussed about it. I'm just like, why is this movie out?
Same.
And now that you tell me it's the fourth, because I was like, why is Thor getting a third movie?
Why is he getting a fourth movie?
Plus, we watched the whole Loki series as well. Like, you know, I feel like they've done the Odins or whatever they're called a bit to death now.
I think I like Chris Hemsworth as well, and I like him as this character. I'm happy to see more of it. But I think
he's like the best. I actually think he's the best actor in the whole Marvel universe. Like, he's my favourite.
He's good. He can handle the drama and the comedy.
Yeah.
My feelings about this movie, though, are just I'm just worn out. I feel worn out by the whole thing, and I'm trying to keep up with the TV shows, and there's kind of just...
Now, and you're worse than me, because at least I don't watch the TV. I've kind of given up on the TV shows, but Dave's still chugging along with those.
You're better off, really. and I mean, we had the same complaints, to be fair, with Doctor Strange. I think we said exactly the same things going into that, and we both came out of that having really enjoyed it, and I did enjoy it. So
I
I'm
hope to enjoy
hoping for some light, breezy entertainment here, and that's kind of all I really expect and want from it. But I am worn out by all this stuff.
It's a bit interesting as well, because I guess last we saw Thor, I'm now remembering, was in
was at the end of Endgame. So spoilers now for Avengers Endgame.
But wasn't he like really depressed and he wasn't like a god anymore? Is that the last time we saw him?
Well, he was a god, but he was. I mean, there was that whole thing
he
about
had a crisis.
He put on a lot of weight and became the Big Lebowski, and had a crisis. But then ultimately fought against Thanos, and then he went off with the Guardians of the Galaxy and left.
Right. Okay, I
Tessa
didn't remember
Thompson
that.
to rule New Asgard.
Okay, thank you for the recap.
So that's
and
where
also,
we find him at
a
the
couple of
beginning.
our listeners actually messaged us after Endgame and made very fair points around the fact that there was like very blatant fatism in some of the Thor stuff in that movie. Like the joke was he's a belly, and it's like, well, what's the joke? Like, he has a belly. It was fairly thin humour, so I hope they don't belabor that again in this one. Okay, but anyway, I am actually genuinely excited to watch Chris Hemsworth for a movie because I think he's such a superstar. And
Let's go. We'll see you on the other side. Bye.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been like? 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months and 6 days, give or take.
Am I sensing feelings?
Well, you're right.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
We're back. We saw a movie. We saw Thor, Love and Thunder. I hope you did too. But if you didn't, don't worry. There's no spoilers here until, of course, we get to Spoiler Street.
Do you really hope they've seen it?
I mean, I don't care. But I'm happy.
By the way, I liked the very...
This
is not a spoiler. I loved the very end of this movie when I found out why it was called Thor, Love and Thunder. That was a nice moment.
That was good.
Yeah.
Okay, Kathy, let's start with you. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about Thor, Love and Thunder?
So I actually enjoyed the movie. I was surprised to see Christian Bale show up. Didn't know that was going to happen.
He's in it, yeah.
I have an innate distrust of him.
You distrust him?
When he's
Why
in
do
a
you
film.
What a weird
I don't
word
mean
to
the
use.
man, I mean the actor. Like when he comes on a film, I'm like, oh God, he's going to go now and just fucking ruin this movie. And I was pleasantly surprised. I actually thought he was really great in it.
Yeah, he was great.
I thought he was really great. I thought Chris Hemsworth was the best superstar as always. I absolutely love him. I feel like he has grown way bigger than these movies and actually shouldn't be in them anymore now. I feel like he's done his bit.
Okay.
I was delighted to see Natalie Portman back. She's great. I was very pleased to see Anthony Hopkins. Didn't know he was in it. Not Anthony Hopkins.
He's not, what?
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, very fun. Tessa Thompson, I love her.
Now, some of that, just be careful where you're treading. We're in the non-spoiler section now. Everything you've said is in the trailers.
Yeah,
but
that's
just
not spoilers.
Yeah.
Anyway, just referencing
I'm just
actors.
saying you often you play
Okay.
fast and loose.
Well, it's
This
'cause I don't watch the
This
trailers.
is Marvel. People are very sensitive.
Okay, I mean, I presume people know the actors in it. It was like an enjoyable, it wasn't as long as all of them, so it was enjoyable. I went along for the ride. As I mentioned, I enjoyed the very ending. And other than that, it's kind of like, okay, I'll never think about this movie again as long as I live. There's no value to the world from it. It's just, it is what it is. It's just a conveyor belt of Marvel movies with shots of brilliance. I also really love the director, and I love his voiceover of one of the creatures.
Taika
I think
Waititi.
Yeah, I really like him as one of the creatures.
Korg is his character, yeah.
So there's actually, I would say there were elements of this movie that I loved, but I do not love the movie.
Okay, that's. I completely agree with you. I don't love this movie either. In fact, I have real issues with it, which I'm going to go into in spoilers. But I felt that this movie, I felt like just kind of disappointed with this movie. I'm like, what?
With its existence?
Yeah, like what is the point of this? That there was no.
It had a better plot than I expected, honestly.
But the plot. The problem is that the plot, and we'll talk about this more in spoilers. But the plot is aiming really dark sometimes, with some literally dark. It goes black and white in some parts of this, and it is aiming for some sort of hefty sort of subjects, and I think it is at real odds with the comedy. It doesn't feel like it meshes well together. If anything, and I had the same problem with Ragnarok, is that, spoilers for Thor Ragnarok, but at the end of that movie, there's a moment where their entire sort of home and civilization has been destroyed, and it's holding on everyone's reactions to that. And then Taika Waititi can't resist cutting to a joke from Korg,
that
which
was
undercuts
inappropriate.
the moment.
I remember that.
And he does that time and again in this movie, to the point where I can't actually... And this movie starts with something incredibly emotionally impactful.
This movie
right?
has, which almost no Marvel movies do, has a great true villain, as in with an actual backstory whose motivations I understand.
Yeah, he's
I would
great.
say that he's a good villain.
But then they they undercut all of those moments. Anytime there's potential for real drama, I felt I couldn't invest in any of it, because either the moment is undercut by a joke, or I can't get to grips with the stakes or the weight of anything that is happening in this movie, because none of the characters or the actors playing the characters seem like they're taking it seriously.
The only weight is really in Natalie Portman's plot, I think.
But even her, she has a very weighty plot. And then she kind of goes through the movie a lot like Chris Hemsworth, just making jokes. Everyone's making jokes. And what you've got is a team which is Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman and Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie and Korg. And the four of them are comic relief characters, essentially. Like
Natalie Portman's not a... They turned her into one, but she wouldn't have been in the other movies.
She's got a whole running joke about what her catchphrase is, which is quite funny. I'm not criticising. Like, there's a lot of funny stuff in this movie. It doesn't all hit. But there is funny stuff. I like Taika Waititi, but I can't... There's no weight or heft to any of the bits that have real potential to be hefty and for me to be invested in emotionally.
Do you think they should be hefty? Or do you think it's that the movie dabbled in it? Do you think the movie would have been better off just leaving that out of it and just having them on kind of a fun romp?
No, I think somebody who is less inclined to be comedic, because Taika Waititi is an incredibly funny person and has has a distinct sort of voice which rings through in this movie, and I think he's not hitting home on the emotional beats. And I don't know, the movie's trying to do it, but how can I feel bad for Thor as a character when he's not taking anything seriously? The stakes of this movie, it just feels like he's just walking from scene to scene, taking everything completely flippantly. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know that we're ever supposed to feel bad for him. I think we're supposed to be concerned about the journey and the people they're trying to save.
But I wasn't, and we'll talk about that in spoilers. But the people that they're trying to save, that should be that should be a subject matter that's incredibly important and treated with seriousness, and everyone's just kind of making jokes. And for me,
but that's because it's basically
took me out of the movie.
It's basically a kids' movie, you see. So I think that it's all at odds, because it's a story aimed at kids.
All right, it's a kids' movie, but then they create a villain that is aesthetically and metaphorically, like, is incredibly scary and villainous.
He is.
And Christian Bale is going hard on it.
Yeah, he's really good.
So it's like, I don't really subscribe to, hey, it's just a kids movie, we're all just having fun, when half of the movie is just like, look how fucked up and dark this guy is. And it's just like, no, you can't quite have your cake and eat it. Are you just a sort of a fantasy, sort of flippant comedy, which is kind of fine, and that is what it is, but you can't also try and do all these things and have things that matter. And this
but you also fundamentally can't do this when you're the, like, you can't have things matter when you're the, and I'm just going to take a stab here, 26th movie in a franchise.
I agree.
That, like, you just can't, there's no weight left in this world. Thor shouldn't even be alive anymore.
Can we go to spoilers now, and I'll talk about, because I think you've hit the nail on the head with my criticisms I'm leveling at this movie in particular are, or you can also level at the entire sort of concept of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It's not Taika Waititi's fault. It's just he's a cog in the machine of the Marvel Universe that needs to go on endlessly forever.
And stuff is, besides Endgame, which I think did deliver true consequence and emotional impact, and I loved it, and I feel like I haven't really seen that since, and they haven't been able to achieve that.
It really was the Endgame. Like, I know Spider-Man was a huge hit after it, and we both really enjoyed Spider-Man Coming Home, but
No Way Home?
Or No Way Home even.
Coming Home is the cinema spin-off.
But basically, since Endgame, there's been no weight to the franchise.
Let's go to spoilers now. So spoilers now for Thor: Love and Thunder. So what I mean specifically is...
Wait, we didn't give people enough time to turn off their...
They've had it now. You've just given it to them. Hopefully you have turned
it off.
Big spoilers now for Thor: Love and Thunder.
But
and
also no spoilers, because nothing of consequence
potentially
happens.
for some MCU stuff, which we'll flag in a moment's notice. Okay, so there are no consequences. I mean, this whole franchise has been criticised previously for not having consequence, right? So death means nothing. The Winter Soldier, like Bucky... All right, I'm just going to... Spoilers for the whole MCU, right? Bucky dies in 1940. Hey, he's back. He's the Winter Soldier now. It's just like...
a load of them died in Endgame and then came back again.
Everyone comes back. Everyone comes back. Nothing means anything. No one ever dies, right? Except for Tony Stark's death, which I feel... And if they ever undo that, I think they can go fuck themselves.
But they only did that because your man wanted to leave.
Well,
They'd bring him back if
fine.
They could, like.
But also, like, that had a real emotional resonance. And Captain America and Chris Evans standing aside didn't die, but I feel like that's a nice exit point.
Wait, didn't Zoe Saldana and die?
Came back.
Oh,
Different timeline. Yeah, she died in Infinity War.
But she wasn't
and she's
in this.
back for Endgame.
But she wasn't in this one though with Star-Lord.
No, because she's a different version of a timeline who doesn't know him and just disappeared. Right?
And also Black Widow died, but then they brought out her prequel.
Yeah.
So she's dead, but we still got another movie with her.
Just like, and this movie is emblematic of all those problems, where you've got, all right, Russell Crowe shows up and is great fun. Like, I don't know what he's doing.
Russell Crowe was fucking brilliant.
By the way, apparently he shot. This is a fun fact. He shot all of his scenes in the Greek accent he's doing, this kind of Greek Australian accent, which, by the way, shout out to our Australian listeners. If that's like borderline like racist or stereotype, please let us know, because I was feeling like it might be, but I don't know enough about sort of Greek culture. But he did all of his scenes shot with that accent. Then he did them all again with a British accent because they couldn't make their mind up, and they went with his mad Greek accent. But like, I kind of like it. Kind of makes sense. He's Zeus. He would have a Greek accent, I guess.
I mean,
also,
sure. And of course, he'd speak English.
While we're on the subject, Brett Goldstein did as
such
Hercules.
a surprise.
I was like, wow,
and
great
we love
casting.
him.
Great casting.
And he follows us on Twitter, so I'm like, someone follows us on Twitter who's in a Marvel
I hadn't
movie.
thought about that.
We've made it.
Yeah. We've been chatting to him.
That is such a surprise.
He has a great
Hercules
podcast
casting.
as well, a movie podcast called Films to be Buried With, if nobody knows. Yeah, really good. Now, here's what I was going to say. Russell Crowe shows up.
Also,
great
he had his
scene,
own
lots
accent.
of fun.
He had his own accent, didn't he, when he came out? Right,
I mean, he can only be the sort of Cockney accent.
It was so good.
And then he gets killed, right, with the lightning bolt.
Yeah, and then he shows up at the end again.
And then it's like, oh, yeah, no, he's not dead. Don't worry, he'll be back. In the same effing movie, Natalie Portman has what the movie is trying to make a very poignant death scene, and then in the end credits, it's just like, oh, there she is. She's in Valhalla now.
Wait, you stayed for the second end
You
credits.
went to
I
the toilets, yeah. We haven't talked about this yet.
What?
So in
Because
the
I was like, trust me when I say I've sat through enough Marvel credits.
Kathy was
today.
like, no, and I was just like, oh, well,
I'll say I always will save the first one. I'll never save because the second ones are always so pointless.
Well,
Wow,
the second one is Valhalla, Heaven.
Well, they showed us that because she turned into kind of. We saw her go to Valhalla when she died because she was
yeah.
all sparkly. So I guess that.
So she could put,
But what's she doing in the end credits?
Well, she shows up, and then Idris Elba is there, who did die, but also no one really dies. He's there. He's in Valhalla with Natalie Portman. So yeah, basically the
but they're not going to be in another movie, though.
Yeah, they will. They 100% will. They're there. That's the Marvel studio saying, these characters are here. We can pluck them out anytime we want now. For all you need is some nonsense exposition where you're like, we've discovered the portal to Valhalla is in this place, and that's what I mean. This movie.
I always thought that Natalie Portman hadn't wanted to be in these movies anymore, and I have to say that I really like. So I like that she came back because I'm a fan of hers. But I'm also was like, I'd be surprised if she bothered coming up again. But I think they're just opening that as like an option. But I think.
But also it's just like, if you're gonna reach in there as the option, like have some like restraint and do it in Thor 6 or 7 if you want to, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna go to Valhalla to get Natalie Portman. But like, don't just be like at the very end of this movie undercut the thing that you just had at the end of your movie where you're like, there's this big death scene. Like, death means fuck all, and it's really starting to frustrate me. And even as she was dying, I was just like, It's just like, yeah, if they want
I say
Natalie
go back
Portman,
on
it's just
Jane,
like
though?
nothing means anything.
I agree, take your point, but going back on the Jane and Thor thing, because remember in the second or third movie, I can't remember which one now, Thor movie, that she wasn't in and they were just broken up and that was the end of it. I really liked that they gave us the whole, like, I felt like I really liked the grounded,
Oh, that was
normal,
nice.
their relationship,
Them riding
montage,
bikes and all that,
and
yeah,
them
yeah.
like drifting apart.
I really
Like,
enjoyed
I thought
that.
that was all very well done, and I liked Thor's arc for this movie of like learning to let himself love again, and then him and the little girl at the end. I really liked.
You know, that's his Chris Hemsworth's daughter in real life.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, which
She
I think
was
makes it
awesome.
extra special.
So I actually really like all that relationship stuff with them. I actually really like the use of rock music in this. I thought that was quite fun, like Sweet Child of Mine.
Well, it's
I
just
like-
Guns N' Roses, right?
No, there was a couple of sequences with
I thought it was
rock
just
music.
Guns N' Roses. It was exclusively Guns N' Roses. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Oh.
listeners.
Okay, well anyway, I
But
really enjoyed all
Axl
the
Rose got
sequences.
paid a fortune for this.
That was class. The stuff with him and like Star-Lord and all them, I don't give a shit. I could do without that.
Well, here's another thing. It's just like the end of Endgame. It's just like, there goes Thor. He's off with the Guardians of the Galaxy now. Can you imagine the adventures they'll have? Oh, here's 3.5 minutes of that, and then they're gone. It's just like,
yeah, it's just
what's the
so
point?
much going
Why
on
are
in
you
this
setting
movie?
up all this stuff only just to like not use any of it?
I like the Christian Bale stuff the way I thought they set up fairly well why he would hate gods. What I was confused by at the beginning is after his daughter died, why did he then be compelled to or drawn to the like valley of the gods to meet them? Is it because the sword drew him in? I didn't quite get why he suddenly saw that from the desert and was suddenly in there. Not that it matters whatsoever, but I enjoyed that he killed that
I
god
think
because
he
that
just
god was awful.
stumbled upon a god.
And I also love.
I mean, I like the idea of that, but he's a great idea. This God, the Butcher, Gore the Butcher,
It was
and he's a
proper, like-
killer of gods, and you're kind of on his side because they all seem like horrible.
Yeah,
But
when
also-
when they all went up to wherever Zeus, the palace of the gods, I would have watched a whole movie set there with all those gods. Like, I thought that was great world
Also,
building.
but why didn't we have Gore attacking them? Why didn't he attack any? Why didn't he do anything? He didn't. We didn't see him kill any gods. It
No,
was
the
all happened off
implication.
screen.
Yeah, but the implication was like they didn't have time to go into it. They've 700 of the plot. The implication was he was going around killing all the low-level gods. But he seemed to have a particular
I know, but,
fixation
like-
with Thor that I didn't get. And then
Because
when
he
came-
wanted the Stormbreaker. Look, the plot felt like it was just literally like they were making it up as they went along.
Yeah,
and
there
then
was just
halfway
way
through,
too
they're
much.
like, "Oh, hey, there's also this thing at the end of time." Which seems,
wishing well that the whole
seems
world-
like everyone can just go anywhere at any time, and Thor's like, right, let's go there, and then he has the MacGuffin that's going to open the gate to make a wish. So he could have done that at any time. Why didn't they just wish that
Do you know
Thanos
what?
didn't
I
exist?
actually think we shouldn't do much
Why
of a
didn't-
spoiler street on this because, like, what are we unpicking? It was just madness.
It's just, yeah, but that's what I mean. It was a weightless movie. The plot had nothing to grip onto. There were no emotional stakes. I'm enjoying Miss Marvel at the moment. I'm 3 episodes into that, and that spends time making
Disney
you
Plus.
care on Disney Plus, and that spends time making you care about Kamala Khan and her family.
Yeah, but now,
and
bearing in mind, A, it's her origin story, and B, it's a TV show.
yeah, but this has
that
this
this
has
is the
had
fourth
4
one.
movies, and I'm invested in Thor, but you can't make me invested in him if he's not going to take it seriously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, do you know what? I've actually nothing else to say about this movie.
There's a
I
few
will
things.
never. I promise you, tomorrow I'll have forgotten it.
Yeah, I agree, and it just feels like, what's the point?
I
And
just
I'm-
think Chris Hemsworth. I know these franchises made him a star, but I think he is. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say, like, one of the best actors of his generation. What is he doing now in this shit? Other than getting paid loads of money, but, like, surely he's a millionaire by now. I don't understand why he's now... Sure, like Scarlett Johansson's bowed out, Captain America's bowed out, Tony Stark's bowed out. Like, I feel like he should be bowing out now as well. Like, you know, it's...
Sure, he's
it's
raking
like,
it in.
Yeah, but... Like, he's probably a multimillionaire. He needs to be off doing good projects now and showcasing his, like, actual acting chops. On the Natalie Portman plot, though, and Jane plot, I actually found it very compelling, the idea that, and again, this could have been a whole movie in itself, the idea that she's so ill, but when she has this hammer and she's acting as a god, she's, like, so strong and she's just so happy, but then that takes the strength out of her, because I would have thought it gave her strength, and I kind of enjoyed watching the CGI and then how they made her all tall and muscly and kind of thinking how they would have navigated shooting that. So I liked that whole plot,
I think
but
she
again,
just
that could have been the
I don't
whole...
think the CGI made her muscly, by the way.
No, they CGI'd her face onto a muscly body. Like,
No, Kathy, they didn't. She got ripped.
that was not Natalie Portman's body.
I'm telling you right now, they did not CGI her face. What she was doing,
That
what
was
they did
not her
do is
body.
they made her taller because they had platforms next to Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, so you've
she's
watched
walking
them.
on platforms.
Oh, right, because I was like, she's
no,
like
it's
2 feet
her.
taller.
Kathy, you've seen... We're watching Stranger Things. You've seen what it looks like when they CGI someone's face on another person's body. You can tell.
Well, I could tell
the
in this
scenes.
movie. It looked awful when she was that size.
No, that's just her. I mean,
Her
guys,
face was CGI.
I don't know. Let's do some
That was
research.
not her. Anyway.
I really
But I
don't
think
that's
her whole plot could have been a movie. Her and Thor's whole plot could have been a movie, and I actually would have loved to watch that movie.
Yeah, without all the villain stuff, and the stuff I was referring to earlier, like he kidnaps an entire village's children.
Yeah, and they all have a great lark.
And then all they do is they go to the town hall and have a meeting, and it's all just like comedy beat. Don't worry, we'll sort this out. Ha ha ha! Here we go. I'm Thor.
I like the
Whoops,
idea
I've
that
slipped
Idris
into a wall.
Elba. I like the idea that Idris Elba's son was in it. Had the eye thing. They were communicating that way. Like
But
that
then
was quite
then
cool.
he communicates with them, and it's just like, don't worry, kids, everything's gonna be fine. It was just like, I'm just like.
Oh no! Okay,
You've got
sorry. My favorite bit of the movie, absolute favorite of the movie,
When
was
all the kids get the powers.
All the kids
Yeah,
get
that
the
was
power
great.
of Thor. I could have watched that for ages.
And
like,
I did-
There's glimmers of brilliance in the movie, and I really, really, really liked that.
That was a
sequence.
great sequence.
Yeah.
And I, by the way, I have been absolutely shitting on this movie, but I would like to call out a few great things that I enjoyed in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. I thought that was brilliant. It looked amazing. It was just a great idea. The little girl with the teddy bear with lightning shooting out of it. Just a fun idea.
That was so fun. That teddy bear was her
Even
weapon.
though it breaks the whole, like, I don't know, they keep introducing new powers. Like, why didn't he do that when they were battling, in Wakanda? Why didn't he give everyone lightning powers? Anyway, not to get boring. But, the other things I loved the idea of a love triangle between Thor and his 2 weapons. I thought that was really...
Oh my God, I loved that!
The way Stormbreath... like, Taika Waititi has such good comic timing.
And so
the way
does
they shot
Chris
that...
Hemsworth.
They both do. The way
they're a dream
the way
team.
that the axe sort of slowly came into the frame...
That was so good.
legitimately
and
hilarious.
The way it showed us I loved how they showed us like that Thor imbued his original weapon with like love for Natalie Portman because
Yes.
he loved her so much. So I found all that stuff brilliant. I would have just loved to watch that movie on its own.
I thought all the sort of look of the movie was great. I love all the Technicolor sort of 80s stuff, and then it really contrasted well when they went to wherever Gore was, the Shadow Realm, and they went into black and white. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
loved
cool.
the little reference to George Méliès's A Trip to the Moon with that perspective shot where they
I didn't think about
they
that.
hid into the moon. Like, I love that Taika Waititi is so cine literate. Like, he got a little
Yeah, that was beautiful.
little
actually.
nod. Like, you'd never expect to see that in a
would've
Marvel
liked
movie.
to
Then all the
see-
shadow creatures, I mean, they weren't very threatening because none of the henchmen are, but they looked awesome. The way the shadows were being drawn on that asteroid was really good. But yeah, so there was a lot to like in here. But also I feel like they didn't. I'm going back to the negative now. But they didn't give Tessa Thompson's character
I was
anything
just
to
gonna
do,
say,
and
Tessa
then they just
Thompson-
bench her halfway through it. They're like,
she's
out
a great
now.
actress, and she really props up. Like, she completely holds her own with Chris Hemsworth. And so I say it's hard enough to do. She's a brilliant actress, but she's given no plot.
Yeah.
She's just
And neither is Korg. He's just
on
there.
their journey.
And then they're like,
I love
Korg.
the stuff with Korg at the end when he was making a baby over
That
the
was
well.
that was nice.
Was so cute.
But here's the thing, Korg like loses his entire body and is just a face, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, and that's kind of
And
fun.
then they do nothing with
And then
it.
they're like, no, not only do they do nothing with it, they're like, oh, don't worry, his body's back now. It's just at the end, his body's
I
back.
know, yeah, there's just no
It's
consequence.
just like, come on, guys. I mean, just commit. Just
I hope
commit
they
to
never
something.
make another Thor movie now. If they make another Thor movie, I'm just saying it now. I'm not going to go and watch it.
I mean, like, and also Chris Hemsworth Thor loses an eye, and you're like, whoa, he lost a whole eye
In this movie?
from Thanos. No, like a few movies back, and then like next movie they're like, oh, here's an eye, here's the new eye,
Oh my god, I completely.
and they're just
forgot
like,
that.
okay, well, just like, I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if like the next movie is just like, oh, she's gone now, the daughter's gone. Oh, don't worry about that.
That's. I
Just
mean,
gonna do
that's
something
really
else now.
bad. Like, that's so weird. Like, they couldn't be bothered CGIing it out for the whole.
No, I get it. There's a practical reason, like Chris Hemsworth probably doesn't want to wear an eye patch for a whole movie,
But like,
but I'm just like,
if it's just part of the plot, you just
commit,
do it. Yeah.
commit to something.
Yeah. Okay, but we need to go.
All right.
But like, needless to say, this always happens to us. We've mixed feelings because we. In one part enjoyed it, and the other part just groan at it at this point.
If you told
Which I think
me-
is everyone's response to these movies now, by the way.
If you told me at the beginning of the year that I'd have preferred Doctor Strange to this one, I would have said
Same.
that's, you're mad.
But I think
Thor is
one
great
of the
fun.
biggest reasons for that is it was Doctor Strange's first movie. This is Thor's fourth movie.
Kathy, it was Doctor Strange's second movie.
Oh God, yeah, I've forgotten that as well.
You have not.
Okay, sorry. I hated his first movie.
I'm enjoying the timeline that's in your head.
It's so bad. Okay, I'm someone who's actually seen all of these movies and recorded podcasts about most of them. And even at this point, I cannot keep up with them.
They're becoming harder to
really hard to
make an impact, aren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, I thought, and also that had all the multiverse stuff, which was quite cool. Like, there was enough new stuff going on in that one. Whereas this just, I'm over it.
All right. Right, well,
on that note,
thanks for listening. Kathy's over it. I'm just going to keep bashing my head against the wall.
See, it's only as I'm talking about it. Actually, when I walked out of the cinema, I was like, that was fun. Yeah. It's just when you try and analyse it and you realise there's nothing to analyse.
There's nothing to analyse. It's just fluff. And normally I'm okay with that, but I just feel like when they can do this better. I've seen them do it better. So I'm just like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Sorry for ranting. You can let us know if you want to rant. We are available to receive rants at the Cinemile on all the social media stuff. We have a Patreon page, patreon.com/the Cinemile, where you can support the show if you'd like to.
And we're currently, every month we watch a retro movie as voted for by our patrons, and this month we watched My Cousin Vinny for the first time, and we are also doing weekly episode reviews of For All Mankind, which is currently the greatest show on TV.
Yes, correct. So
and we will be doing weekly episodes of the new Game of Thrones show when that comes later this summer.
Yes, and maybe even the Lord of the Rings one, although Kathy has only just heard about this, and I can already tell she doesn't want it. What was I going to say? Oh, also please leave us a review if you like what we do here. That would, if you don't want to subscribe to our Patreon page, that is a nice way to do it for free and would really help us out.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, bye.
Take off your disguise and flick. Oh, you flick too hard, damn it!
Shall we help him? And eventually, grape.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What do you do when no one else is watching? What do you do that makes you happy for no reason at all? What are you obsessed with? I'm Leslie Arfin, and I'm a writer, but I'm also a dancer, a painter, a vapor, a dollhouse enthusiast, and basically just an overall hobbyist. My podcast, Filling the Void, is all about what other people are fanatically into. We talk about hobbies, even if you don't have one.
Listen to Filling the Void on Tuesdays on the Arios Network and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.